Hello and welcome. I get asked many a question while collecting the Wildman reports, and most of them, I'll be honest, are the same questions over and over again. So I thought I'd take a little bit of time just to make a video on each one, just to put some of the myths to bed and basically to discuss what British Bigfoot is and what it means to us in Britain at the moment. Personally, I'm always asked why there is no history. And like many things, Bigfoot's name changes depending on the century that you're in. So from around about the 900 AD, he was known as Sylvanus, god of the woodlands. Then around the 11th century, he changes to the Green Man. Same description, same characteristics, looks after the wood, is all about nature, preserving nature, working with nature, reconnecting with the wild. The Green Man image is everywhere in British history. It's in church carvings, it's in lithographs, it's vast, it's out there. If you just do a quick Google check, you'll find it. Then around the 12th century, his name changes to the Woodwoose. And I'm unsure where that name comes from or why it was used. Some people think it's to do with the howls or the noise, with the whoop sound that they hear in the woods, but I'm unsure about that. And he continues as the Woodwoose till about the 17th century. Any reports that come in, unfortunately, I find, unless the witness describes it as an ape or a gorilla or a monkey, they pass us by. A lot of the accounts go to the paranormal databases. So certain accounts like if you're in the woods and you are shadowed and stones are thrown and you hear a strange howl or a scream, that is always put down to ghost activity. Going into an area feeling watched, feeling unnerved, feeling like you need to walk away will undoubtedly get reported as ghost activity. But if we can just for a second look at it from a different point of view, to me, it makes more sense that something physical is following you, something your brain is picking up on, that somebody is watching you, somebody is behind you. But we've been taught to repress that. Well, it must just be a ghost. It must just be a spirit. It's just will-o'-the-wisp. It's just one of those things. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why, for a start, a ghost would be in a wood. The sightings come up too many times to be a ghost, and they come up repeatedly in the same areas, which suggests to me a territory of some kind. Now, none of this I can prove, obviously. I can only go off the information I receive on an almost weekly basis. Now, looking back as far as I can go, I can find some strange names for him. Like in Wales, he was called a mudman. We also have mud maids, which presumably is a female version of the Woodwoose. He lives wild. He doesn't interact with people. Chooses to stay safe. Can't blame him, really, in this day and age. But in our 21st century mind, this is impossible. Well, we're still discovering Amazon tribes. We're still discovering new things. This is just an ego on our behalf that we know everything. There are no answers left in this world for us to discuss. Well, that's ridiculous. Unless you speak to the witnesses, like I do, unless you hear their stories, take into account their feelings, we're never going to understand this phenomenon. Because each person is coming from a different perspective. Some people think that he's an ape, no more than an ape. And we just haven't found him. I don't believe that. That's not my belief. I think you wouldn't be able to stay hidden for this long if you were just an ape. Some people think it's an imagination. We see something like a bear or a wolf and it frightens us into reporting it. And as I've had to point out many a time to the Americans, we don't have bears in the UK. We don't have wolves. We don't have any animal that walks upright on two legs unless it's a human being. And to be continuously told by other people that live not in our country, not walk in our woods, that what we're seeing is misidentified animals, animals that we don't have to start with, that in itself becomes a cryptid account, surely. Many people ask me why I continue. Well, if I stopped, where would the witnesses go? Who would they report them to? They still come in on an almost weekly basis. People are still seeing these things, still reporting these things. And it seems that just myself and a small amount of researchers are actually taking notice. We understand that people can't recognise the glyphs and the signs. We've been doing it a long time. We see these things constantly in our research. But all we ask is not that you believe us outright, just that you go and see. Whether you live in the middle of a town or in the countryside, walk to your nearest green area. It doesn't have to be in the middle of nowhere. It can be a small wood where people walk their dogs. Go along, get a feel for yourself. Have a see. Can you see anything that's out of place? Do you see anything that looks strange to you? And if you do, take some photographs. Send them into the British Research Group and we'll have a look at them and let you know. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be weather, or children, or people. But it's that 1%, the strange things we find that we can't explain, that keeps us interested and keeps us going. And as long as the sightings continue to come in, I'll continue to report them here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Until next time, Deborah.